A single chant of Om echoing across an unpeopled landscape. We have previously explored how ancient Indian thought mapped human consciousness through a specific progression, from the waking world into the dreaming mind, down into deep sleep, and eventually to the foundational state called Turiya. This sequence covers the full scope of subjective experience, from the material reality we touch to the dark, imageless depth of dreamless sleep. The question is how a single syllable can contain that entire journey. In its original context, the syllable Om was used as a template, a deliberate alignment of sound with the internal mechanics of the mind. In early Vedic rituals, the sound Om functioned as a practical term of agreement. One priest would chant a verse, and another would respond with Om, meaning yes or I assent. The Mandukya Upanishad took this routine word of assent and redefined it, declaring that the sound of Om encompasses the world and the self. The text divides both the self and the vibration of the syllable into 4 distinct sections, or quarters. This transition changed Om from a simple ritual response into a tool for dissecting the nature of experience. The dissection begins with the first phonetic element. When pronounced correctly, the sound starts at the back of the throat with the open vowel ah. The Mandukya links this sound to the waking state, Vaisvanara, the mode of consciousness perceiving the gross, material world of physical objects. As the mouth begins to close, the ah rolls forward and transitions into the sound u. This corresponds to the dream state, Taijasa. Here, consciousness turns inward, engaging with a brilliant self-generated reality that exists only within the mind. The physical shift of the sound from the throat to the lips mirrors the psychological shift from the shared external world to isolated internal perception. Finally, the lips close completely, creating the humming sound of the nasalized M. This maps to the state of deep, dreamless sleep, prajna, where the mind no longer constructs images or entertains desires. Later traditions describe this as a bindu, a single dot of potential energy. It represents a state where all the different threads of our waking and dreaming thoughts collapse, merging into a single, dense point. The Mandukya describes deep sleep not as an empty void, but as a unified mass of perception. It is a state of density, holding the seed of every potential experience that will reappear upon waking. The activity of our waking hours and the projections of our dreams both resolve into this single, heavy vibration. Eventually, the vocalized sound ends, the vibration of the M decays, and the breath is exhausted. The Mandukya identifies a final secret. The 4th quarter of the syllable is the silence that follows the sound. It is a part of the syllable that has no phonetic components. This silence is Turiya. Because the text equates vocalized sound with the active projection of the mind, the silence that follows represents a consciousness that has stopped its activity, what the Mandukya calls the cessation of the visible world. This silence is the constant background. It is the observer that remains present, whether we are awake, dreaming, or in deep sleep. The ultimate destination of the chant is not the sound itself, but the realization of the silence it leaves behind. This brief text, barely a dozen verses long, became the foundation for a massive philosophical framework. Centuries later, the teacher Gaudapada used this 4-part structure of Om to write his Karika, one of the earliest systematic works of Indian philosophy. His student's student, Adi Shankara, used this same model to establish the school of Advaita Vedanta, or non-dualism. For these thinkers, Om was a conceptual tool, a way to condense the vast complexity of the world into the simple span of a human breath. They did not intend for the sound to be an object of worship, but a guide to the reality the sound points toward. But while Om maps the mind, other texts were concerned with the source of the life breath itself. We will examine that Turiya Upanishad next.